The security camera footage doesn't lie. That's what I keep telling myself as I scroll through 3 months of my wife's comings and goings at 2 in the morning, nursing my 4th cup of coffee and wondering when exactly my marriage turned into a forensic investigation. I'm Jason Fairburn, J to everyone who matters, and I used to interrogate insurgents in Afghanistan for Uncle Sam. These days, I run a small private investigation firm in the suburbs of Dallas, tracking down cheating spouses and insurance fraudsters. The irony isn't lost on me that I'm about to become my own client. Laura's been working late at the law firm again, 3rd time this week. Her phone's locked tighter than Fort Knox, and she's developed a sudden interest in girls' nights with friends I've never met. Classic signs, really. Any PI worth his license would spot them from orbit. But this isn't just any cheating spouse case. This is my wife of 15 years, mother of my 2 daughters. The woman who used to laugh at my terrible jokes and steal my hoodies on Sunday mornings. The woman who just walked through our front door at 11:47 p.m., claiming she was at a charity planning meeting for the church. Except our church doesn't have charity meetings on Tuesday nights. I know because I called and asked. "Hey, babe," Laura calls from the kitchen, her voice carrying that artificial brightness I've learned to recognize. "You're up late." "Case files," I reply, minimizing the security footage. "You know how it is." She appears in my office doorway, still in her court attire. Navy blazer, pencil skirt, heels that cost more than my monthly gym membership. At 38, she's still stunning in that polished, untouchable way that first attracted me at a law school mixer 20 years ago. "How was the meeting?" I ask, keeping my voice neutral. "Oh, boring fundraiser stuff. We're trying to raise money for the new youth center." She's good, I'll give her that. Steady eye contact, relaxed posture, but she's touching her necklace. Her tell when she's lying. "That's nice. Which committee are you on again?" A micro pause. "Outreach and Community Development." I nod and smile. There is no Outreach and Community Development Committee at Riverside Baptist. I checked. "I'm exhausted," she continues, going to shower and head to bed. "I'll be up soon." She kisses my forehead, a perfunctory gesture that feels more like a business transaction, and disappears upstairs. I wait until I hear the shower running, then pull up the GPS tracker I installed on her car last month. The route shows stops at her office, then a 30-minute detour to the Fairmont Hotel downtown, then home. The charity meeting that supposedly lasted 3 hours actually took place in a luxury hotel bar. My phone buzzes with a text from my old boxing coach, Frankie. "You coming in tomorrow? Haven't seen you in a week." "Yeah," I type back. "Need to hit something." The shower's still running when I hear Laura's phone buzz on the kitchen counter. She forgot it downstairs, first mistake she's made in months. I shouldn't look. I know I shouldn't look. I look. The text is from someone listed as Scott W. in her contacts. "Amazing night. Can't wait to see you Thursday. Same place?" My hands are steady as I screenshot the message, but something cold and sharp is unfurling in my chest. Scott W. Scott Williams. I know that name from somewhere. Then it hits me. Scott Williams sits on the board of directors at Riverside Baptist Church. He's also one of the biggest donors, owns 3 car dealerships, and has a wife and 2 kids. His photo hangs in the church lobby with the other pillars of faith. The shower shuts off upstairs. I delete the screenshot notification from Laura's phone and head back to my office. Mind racing. Scott Williams. Married. Wealthy. Prominent church member. The kind of man who has everything to lose if his affair becomes public knowledge. I pull up his social media profiles, business records, property ownership. Within an hour, I have his home address, his wife's name, Patricia, his kids' school, his golf club membership, and his daily routine. Laura emerges from the bathroom in her silk robe, hair wrapped in a towel. "Coming to bed?" she asks. "In a few minutes." She nods and disappears into our bedroom. I hear the mattress creak as she settles in. I spend the next 2 hours researching Scott Williams. By 3 a.m., I have a complete dossier. His businesses, his charitable contributions, his church involvement, even his golf handicap. More importantly, I know where he'll be tomorrow night. The Riverside Baptist Church board meeting. Every second Thursday of the month, 7 p.m. sharp. Scott Williams hasn't missed one in 5 years. I close my laptop and head upstairs. Laura's asleep, or pretending to be. In the darkness, I listen to her breathing and plan my next move. 20 years of marriage. 15 years of thinking I knew this woman. 2 daughters who worship their mother and think their dad is just the guy who fixes broken things and makes terrible pancakes on Sundays. But I'm good at fixing broken things, and I'm very, very good at finding the truth. Tomorrow, I start gathering evidence. Real evidence. The kind that holds up in court and ruins reputations. Laura shifts in her sleep, murmuring something I can't make out. In the faint light from the hallway, she looks peaceful. Innocent. I almost feel sorry for her. Almost. Thursday morning arrives with the kind of oppressive Texas heat that makes you question your life choices. I'm at Frankie's boxing gym by 6 a.m., working out my frustrations on a heavy bag that's seen better decades. "You're hitting angry today," Frankie observes from his perch behind the front desk. He's 73, built like a fire hydrant, and has been training fighters since before I was born. "Want to talk about it?" "Marriage troubles," I grunt between combinations. "Ah," Frankie nods knowingly. "The wife?" "The wife." "You want advice from an old man who's been divorced 3 times?" I pause, sweat dripping onto the cracked concrete floor. "Shoot. Don't get mad, get surgical." "Meaning?" "Mad makes you sloppy. Surgical makes you precise. You want to win, you plan every cut." I resume hitting the bag, but his words stick. Surgical, precise. I like that. By 8 a.m., I'm showered and heading to my office. Fairburn Investigations occupies a modest suite in a strip mall between a tax preparation service and a nail salon. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills and gives me the flexibility to handle my own cases. My assistant, Diana Carter, is already at her desk with coffee and a stack of case files. She's a sharp woman in her late 30s, an orthodontist who works part-time helping me with research and background checks. Her analytical mind and attention to detail make her invaluable. "Morning, boss," she says without looking up. "You look like hell." "Thanks for the pep talk." "Seriously, what's wrong? You've been off all week." I consider telling her. Diana's become a good friend over the past 2 years, someone I can trust with sensitive information. But this feels too personal, too raw. "Just a complicated case," I say instead. She gives me a look that says she doesn't believe me but won't push. "Well, whatever it is, channel it into work. We got a new client consultation at 10. The morning passes in a blur of routine tasks. Insurance fraud investigations, background checks, a missing person case that's probably just a deadbeat dad avoiding child support. Normal problems with normal solutions. At lunch, I drive past Scott Williams' main dealership. Williams Luxury Auto sits on 3 acres of prime real estate, all gleaming glass and chrome. Through the showroom windows, I can see him glad-handing customers, his smile bright enough to power the building. He's younger than I expected. Mid-40s, well-dressed, the kind of guy who probably played college football and still thinks he could go pro. Handsome in that generic country club way that women seem to find appealing. I park across the street and watch for 20 minutes, learning his patterns. He touches people when he talks. A hand on the shoulder, a firm handshake that lasts too long. Classic sales techniques, but also the behavior of a man comfortable with physical intimacy. My phone buzzes with a text from Laura. "Working late again tonight. Don't wait up." "Board meeting night." I text back. "No problem. Love you." The lie tastes bitter, but it's necessary. At 6:30 p.m., I'm parked outside Riverside Baptist Church, watching the board members arrive for their monthly meeting. The church is one of those modern mega-complexes, all soaring glass and steel designed to look more like a corporate headquarters than a house of worship. Scott Williams arrives at 6:45, driving a silver Mercedes that probably costs more than most people's houses. He's changed from his dealership clothes into business casual, khakis and a polo shirt that shows off his gym membership. I follow him inside, keeping my distance. The church is mostly empty except for the board meeting, which makes surveillance easier. I slip into the sanctuary and find a seat in the back, pretending to pray while I watch the conference room through the glass walls. The meeting runs exactly 90 minutes. I know because I time it. Scott Williams checks his phone constantly, his leg bouncing under the table like a man eager to be somewhere else. At 8:15, the board members start filing out. Scott lingers, chatting with Pastor Dwight about something that requires a lot of hand gestures and serious nodding. Finally, at 8:30, he heads for the parking lot. I'm already in my car when he pulls out of the church lot. Following someone without being detected is an art form. Stay far enough back to avoid suspicion, close enough to maintain visual contact, always have an escape route planned. Scott doesn't go home. Instead, he drives downtown to the Fairmont Hotel, the same hotel where Laura was Tuesday night. I park in the garage across the street and watch through binoculars as Scott walks into the hotel bar. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I can see him take a seat at a corner booth, checking his watch. At 8:47, Laura arrives. Even from across the street, I can see the change in her body language the moment she spots him. Her shoulders relax, her walk becomes more fluid, more confident. She's wearing a black dress I've never seen before, something that hugs her curves and demands attention. They don't shake hands, they don't hug. Scott stands when she approaches, and she slides into the booth beside him instead of across from him. Intimate seating for people who are comfortable with each other's personal space. I watch them for 2 hours. They order drinks, wine for her, whiskey for him. They lean close when they talk, Laura's hand resting on his arm, his fingers tracing patterns on her wrist. At one point, she throws her head back and laughs at something he says, and the sound carries across the street even through the glass. I've seen enough. But as I'm packing up my surveillance equipment, I see them stand to leave. Instead of heading for the exit, they walk toward the hotel elevators. My hands clench around the binoculars. Watching them flirt over drinks was one thing. Watching them disappear into a hotel room together is something else entirely. I sit in my car for another hour, waiting. They don't come back down. The drive home takes forever and no time at all. Our house sits in a quiet subdivision, all manicured lawns and 2-car garages, the American dream wrapped in vinyl siding and mortgage payments. Laura's car isn't in the driveway. Inside, the house feels different somehow. Smaller, like the walls are closing in. I pour myself 3 fingers of bourbon and sit in my office, staring at the security monitor that shows our empty driveway. At 11:23 p.m., Laura's headlights sweep across the garage door. She comes in through the kitchen, moving quietly in case I'm asleep. I hear her heels on the hardwood, the soft click of her purse being set on the counter. "Jay?" she calls softly. "You awake? In here?" She appears in my office doorway, still in the black dress, her lipstick slightly smeared. "How was your evening?" I ask. "Quiet. Just caught up on some case files." She's not even trying to sell the lie anymore. "You?" "Watched some TV. Thought about us." Something flickers across her face. Guilt, maybe, or fear. "What about us?" "Just wondering if we're happy, if this is what we both want." "Of course we're happy," she says quickly. "Why would you ask that?" I shrug. Sometimes I feel like we're just going through the motions, like we're roommates instead of husband and wife. "That's ridiculous." But her voice lacks conviction. "Is it? When's the last time we really talked? When's the last time we made love instead of just having sex?" "Jay, I'm tired. Can we not do this tonight?" "Sure," I say. "Go get some sleep?" She hesitates in the doorway, like she wants to say something else. Instead, she just nods and disappears upstairs. I finish my bourbon and start planning tomorrow's surveillance. If Laura thinks she's being careful, she's about to learn what careful really looks like. I'm going to document everything, every meeting, every phone call, every lie. I'm going to build a case so airtight that even Laura's legal training won't find a loophole. And when I have enough evidence, I'm going to destroy both of them. Surgically, precisely, completely. Friday morning, I install a voice-activated recording device in Laura's car. It's smaller than a matchbox and magnetically attaches under the driver's seat, completely invisible unless you know where to look. Texas is a one-party consent state, which means I can legally record any conversation I'm part of. Since it's my car too, both our names are on the title, I'm technically a party to anything said inside it. The beauty of 20 years in investigations is knowing exactly how far you can push the legal boundaries without crossing them. Diana notices my improved mood immediately. "You seem better today," she observes, sorting through client files. "Slept well," I lie. "I actually spent most of the night researching surveillance equipment and reviewing Texas divorce law." "Good, because we have that insurance fraud case heating up, and I need you sharp." I spend the morning working legitimate cases, but my mind keeps drifting to Laura and Scott. By lunch, I can't concentrate anymore. "I'm taking the afternoon off," I tell Diana. "Personal business." "Everything okay?" "We'll be soon." I drive to the public library and use their computers to research Scott Williams more thoroughly. Public records, business filings, social media deep dives, everything I can find without leaving a digital trail that leads back to me. What I discover is interesting. Scott Williams is leveraged to the hilt. The car dealerships are profitable, but he's borrowed heavily against them to fund his lifestyle. Big house, expensive cars, country club memberships, private school tuition for his kids. He's living paycheck to paycheck, just like everyone else, except his paychecks have more zeros. More importantly, he's up for election to the church's executive board next month. It's a position that would give him significant influence over the church's substantial financial assets and community standing. A scandal would end those ambitions permanently. That evening, Laura announces she's having dinner with her friend Mia tomorrow night. I've never heard her mention anyone named Mia before. "Old friend from law school," she explains. "She's in town for a conference." "That's nice. Where are you going?" "Probably just somewhere downtown. You know how it is with girlfriends. We'll talk for hours." I nod and smile. Have fun. Saturday evening, I follow Laura's car to the Fairmont Hotel again. This time, I'm prepared with better surveillance equipment. Telephoto lens, directional microphone, digital camera with night vision capability. Laura meets Scott in the hotel restaurant. They're seated at a table by the windows, clearly visible from my position across the street. Through the telephoto lens, I can see every detail of their interaction. They're comfortable together in a way that suggests this has been going on for months, maybe longer. Laura touches his face when she talks. Scott feeds her bites of his dessert. They're not just having an affair, they're acting like a couple. After dinner, they don't go upstairs. Instead, they walk to Scott's Mercedes and drive to a residential area I don't recognize. I follow at a distance, careful not to get too close. They stop at a small house on the east side of town. It's nothing special. A rental property, probably, the kind of place someone might use for privacy. Scott has a key. I park down the street and watch them go inside. The lights come on in what looks like a living room, then a bedroom. I sit in my car for 3 hours, documenting everything. Times, locations, license plates of other cars in the area, building a timeline that will hold up in court. When they finally emerge, it's after midnight. Laura's hair is disheveled, her dress wrinkled. Scott walks her to her car, and they share a long kiss before she drives away. I follow Scott back to his own house, a massive colonial in the most expensive part of town. His wife's car is in the driveway, along with 2 others that probably belong to his teenage kids. The next morning, I retrieve the recording device from Laura's car while she's in the shower. The conversation from last night is crystal clear. "I can't keep doing this," Laura's voice says. "Jay's getting suspicious." "What makes you think that?" Scott's reply. He's asking questions about where I go, who I'm with. He's not stupid, Scott. "So what do you want to do?" A long pause. Then, "I don't know. I love you, but this is getting complicated." "I love you too. We'll figure it out." "What about Patricia? What about the kids?" "What about them? They don't have to know anything." "And Jay?" Another pause. "What about Jay?" "He's my husband, Scott. The father of my children." "Do you love him?" It's complicated." "It's a simple question, Laura. Do you love your husband?" "No," she says finally. "I don't think I do. Not anymore." I stop the recording and pour myself a drink, even though it's only 10 a.m. on a Sunday. 20 years of marriage, and my wife just confessed to her lover that she doesn't love me anymore. The smart thing would be to confront her now, file for divorce, try to salvage some dignity from this mess, take my evidence to a lawyer and negotiate the best settlement I can get. But I'm not feeling smart. I'm feeling surgical. I spend Sunday researching Scott Williams' church activities. He's scheduled to give a presentation to the congregation next week about the new youth center fundraising campaign, the same campaign Laura supposedly helped plan during her fictitious committee meetings. Monday morning, I call in a favor with a contact at the phone company. By afternoon, I have records showing all calls and texts between Laura and Scott going back 6 months. The pattern is clear. Their communication increased dramatically around the time Laura started working late and having mysterious girls' nights. Tuesday, I install a second recording device in Laura's office. This one's riskier. I have to wait until she's in court, then pose as a delivery driver to get access to her building. But I know her schedule, and I know she'll be in depositions all afternoon. The device goes under her desk, voice-activated with a battery life of 30 days. By Wednesday, I have enough evidence to destroy both of them. Photos, recordings, phone records, GPS tracking data, financial records showing Scott's precarious situation. Everything I need to prove adultery and ensure a favorable divorce settlement. But I want more than a favorable divorce settlement. I want them to suffer the way I'm suffering. I want them to lose everything they care about: reputation, social standing, financial security, family relationships. I want their betrayal to cost them more than they ever imagined possible. Wednesday evening, Laura announces she's working late again. "Big case?" I ask. "The biggest," she says, and she's not lying about that. After she leaves, I sit in my office and plan the next phase of my operation. I have the evidence. Now I need to weaponize it. I start with Scott's wife, Patricia. A quick online search reveals she's active on social media, posts frequently about church activities and family events. She's also president of the local junior league and sits on the board of several charities. A woman with a reputation to protect and social connections that matter. Next, I research the church's organizational structure. Pastor Dwight runs the day-to-day operations, but the real power lies with the executive board. 7 prominent businessmen who control the church's finances and major decisions, men who value moral authority and public image above almost everything else. Finally, I look into Laura's law firm. Prestige matters in her profession. A scandal could damage not just her career, but the firm's reputation as well. By Thursday morning, I have a complete battle plan. Multiple pressure points, coordinated attacks, maximum damage with minimum legal exposure for myself. I'm going to give them exactly what they deserve. And I'm going to enjoy every minute of it. Thursday evening, Laura comes home from another late night at the office with a hickey on her neck that she's tried to cover with makeup. She thinks I won't notice, but I've been documenting every detail of her deception for weeks now. How was work? I ask, not looking up from my laptop. Exhausting. This case is killing me. Which case is that again? A brief hesitation. The Morrison divorce. Very contentious. I know for a fact that the Morrison divorce was settled last week. I also know Laura spent the evening at Scott's rental house because I followed her there and watched them through the bedroom window. Sounds complicated, I say. You have no idea. She's right about that. She has no idea what complicated really looks like. Friday morning, I make my first move. I call Patricia Williams. Mrs. Williams, this is Jay Fairburn. I'm a private investigator and I have some information about your husband that I think you should know. I'm sorry. What? Information about Scott? Ma'am, this is a sensitive matter. Would it be possible for us to meet in person? I have some photographs I think you should see. A long pause. What kind of photographs? The kind that might explain why your husband has been working so many late nights recently. Another pause, longer this time. Where do you want to meet? We arranged to meet at a coffee shop across town. Patricia Williams is an attractive woman in her early 40s, well-dressed and well-maintained in the way of wealthy suburban wives. But there's something brittle about her smile, like she's been expecting this conversation for a while. I slide a manila envelope across the table. Mrs. Williams, I want you to know that I take no pleasure in showing you these. She opens the envelope and examines the photographs in silence. Scott and Laura entering the hotel, Scott and Laura kissing in the restaurant, Scott and Laura going into the rental house together. How long? She asks finally. At least 6 months, probably longer. Who is she? Her name is Laura Fairburn. She's an attorney. Fairburn. She looks up at me sharply. Related to you? She's my wife. Patricia Williams stares at me for a long moment, then starts laughing. It's not a happy sound. Your wife is sleeping with my husband. Yes, ma'am. And you're telling me about it. Yes, ma'am. Why? Because they're not just betraying us, Mrs. Williams. They're making fools of us. And I don't like being made a fool of. She studies the photographs again. What do you want from me? Nothing. I just thought you deserved to know the truth. Bullshit. Her voice is sharp now, all pretense of politeness gone. Nobody does something like this without wanting something in return. What's your angle? I smile. I like Patricia Williams. I want them to face consequences for their actions. Real consequences. The kind that hurt. What did you have in mind? Scott's up for election to the church executive board next month. Yes, it's very important to him. How important? Important enough that he's spent the last year kissing ass and making promises he can't keep. What if the church board knew about his extracurricular activities? Patricia Williams leans back in her chair, a slow smile spreading across her face. That would be very unfortunate for Scott. Yes, it would. When? Sunday, during his presentation about the Youth Center fundraising campaign. The presentation he's been preparing for weeks. That's the one. She slides the photographs back into the envelope. Mr. Fairburn, I think you and I are going to get along very well. Saturday evening, Laura announces she's going out with the girls again. Have fun, I say. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. She laughs, thinking it's a joke. I follow her to Scott's rental house and set up surveillance across the street. At 11:30 p.m., my phone rings. Laura, is everything okay? Jay, I need to tell you something. What's wrong? You sound upset. I can't do this anymore. The lying, the sneaking around, it's eating me alive. I almost laugh. She's calling me from her lover's house to confess her guilt about lying to me. What are you talking about? I'm having an affair. There it is, the confession I've been waiting for. What? I put shock and hurt into my voice. Laura, what are you saying? I'm saying I've been seeing someone else, for months. I'm sorry, Jay. I'm so sorry. Who? Does it matter? It matters to me. A long pause. Scott Williams, from the church. Scott Williams? The guy with the car dealerships? Yes. Laura, how could you do this? How could you throw away everything we've built together? I don't know. I fell in love with him, Jay. I didn't mean for it to happen, but it did. Are you leaving me? I don't know. I'm so confused. I need time to think. Where are you right now? At home, in the kitchen. The lie comes so easily to her that I almost admire it. I'm coming home. We need to talk about this face to face. Jay, I'm coming home, Laura. I hang up and drive home, leaving my surveillance equipment in place. When I walk through the front door, Laura's car is pulling into the driveway. She must have broken several speed limits to beat me here. She comes through the door looking appropriately distraught, hair mussed, makeup smeared, the picture of a woman torn apart by guilt. Jay, I'm so sorry. How long? I cut her off. What? How long have you been sleeping with Scott Williams? 6 months, maybe 7. Do you love him? She nods, tears streaming down her face. Yes. Do you love me? A pause that tells me everything I need to know. I slept with him, she says finally, lifting her chin defiantly. What are you going to do about it? The question hangs in the air between us. Laura's tears have stopped, and there's something almost challenging in her expression now, like she's daring me to react. I smile and reach into my jacket pocket. Thank you for making this easy, I say, pulling out a manila envelope. Her face goes pale. What's that? Divorce papers. I had them prepared earlier. I hand her the envelope and pull out my phone, pressing play on the recording app. Her own voice fills the room. I slept with him. What are you going to do about it? The color drains completely from her face as she realizes what just happened. You recorded me? I recorded everything, Laura. 6 months of surveillance. Photos, audio recordings, GPS tracking, phone records. Every lie, every secret meeting, every night you spent in his bed while telling me you were working late. She sinks into a chair, the divorce papers scattered at her feet. Jay, please. Please what? Please pretend this never happened? Please forgive you for making a fool of me for 6 months? Please ignore the fact that you just confessed to adultery on a recording that will hold up in any court in Texas? You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You fell in love with a married man and decided your marriage vows were just suggestions. You understand that Scott Williams is about to lose everything, right? His wife, his kids, his position at the church, probably his business when the scandal hits. What are you talking about? I'm talking about consequences, Laura. Actions have consequences. You and Scott decided to blow up 2 families for your own selfish pleasure. Now you get to live with the results. She's crying again, but I feel nothing. No sympathy, no regret, no second thoughts. The papers are straightforward. I continue. You get to keep your car and your personal belongings. I get the house, the business, and primary custody of the girls. You can have visitation rights as long as you're not living with Scott. You can't do this. I already did it. The recording of your confession makes this a no-contest divorce. Texas doesn't look kindly on adultery, especially when it's documented as thoroughly as yours. Laura looks up at me with something approaching hatred. You bastard! You planned this whole thing. I planned to protect myself and my daughters from the fallout of your selfishness. Everything else is just karma. I head toward the stairs, then pause. Oh, and Laura, you might want to call Scott. Tomorrow's going to be a very interesting day at church. Sunday morning arrives with the kind of crisp autumn air that makes everything feel possible. I'm up early, showered and dressed in my best suit. Navy blue, the one Laura bought me for our 10th anniversary. The irony seems appropriate. The girls are spending the weekend with Laura's parents, which is perfect. They don't need to witness what's about to happen. Riverside Baptist Church holds 3 services every Sunday, but the 11 a.m. service is the main event. Packed sanctuary, full choir, the service where all the important announcements are made. Scott Williams is scheduled to give his presentation about the Youth Center fundraising campaign during the morning announcements. I arrive 30 minutes early and take a seat in the middle section, close enough to see everything but far enough back to avoid drawing attention. The sanctuary fills quickly with the usual crowd of suburban families, all dressed in their Sunday best, and radiating the kind of wholesome respectability that Scott Williams is about to lose forever. Patricia Williams sits in the front row with her 2 teenage children, looking composed and elegant in a black dress that's probably worth more than most people's monthly salary. She catches my eye and nods almost imperceptibly. Scott enters from the side door at 10:55, looking confident and relaxed in a charcoal gray suit. He takes his place on the platform with the other board members, checking his notes one final time. Laura is nowhere to be seen. I'm not surprised. She probably spent the night trying to figure out how to minimize the damage from yesterday's confession. Pastor Dwight opens the service with his usual enthusiasm, leading the congregation through 2 hymns and a prayer before moving to the morning announcements. The Youth Center fundraising campaign is the first item on the agenda. As many of you know, Pastor Dwight says, we've been working hard to raise funds for our new youth center. I'm pleased to announce that we've already raised over $200,000 toward our goal of $500,000. To give us an update on our progress, please welcome board member Scott Williams. Polite applause as Scott approaches the podium. He looks comfortable up there, natural, like a man born to lead. Thank you, Pastor Dwight, Scott begins. I'm excited to share some wonderful news about our fundraising efforts. He's 3 minutes into his presentation when my phone buzzes with a text from Patricia. Now? I text back, now. Patricia Williams stands up in the front row, her movement catching Scott's attention mid-sentence. Excuse me, she says, her voice carrying clearly through the sanctuary. I have a question about the fundraising campaign. Scott blinks, clearly not expecting interruptions. Of course, Patricia. What's your question? I'm wondering if the campaign includes funds for marriage counseling services. A ripple of confused laughter from the congregation. Scott forces a smile. I'm not sure I understand the question. Well, Patricia continues, pulling out her phone, I was just thinking that if we're going to minister to young people, we should probably address the issue of adultery and broken families, don't you think? The sanctuary has gone completely quiet. Scott's smile is looking strained. Patricia, perhaps we could discuss this after... I think we should discuss it now, Patricia interrupts, especially since you are such an expert on the subject. She holds up her phone, and suddenly the church's large projection screens light up, with a photograph of Scott and Laura entering the Fairmont Hotel together. The congregation gasps collectively. Scott goes white. Patricia, what are you... This is my husband, Patricia announces to the sanctuary, entering a hotel with his mistress, a married woman named Laura Fairburn. Another photograph appears on the screens, Scott and Laura kissing in the hotel restaurant. They've been carrying on this affair for at least 6 months, Patricia continues, her voice steady and clear, using church events as cover stories for their meetings. In fact, the committee meetings that supposedly planned this fundraising campaign never actually existed. Scott grabs the microphone. This is inappropriate. What's inappropriate, Patricia cuts him off, is using our church as a cover for adultery. What's inappropriate is lying to this congregation while asking them to donate their hard-earned money to a campaign you've been too busy committing adultery to actually plan. Pastor Dwight is trying to regain control of the situation, but Patricia isn't finished. I have hours of recorded conversations between my husband and his mistress, she announces, including one where they laugh about how easy it is to fool their spouses and this congregation. That last part isn't true, but the congregation doesn't know that. The sanctuary erupts in shocked murmurs and angry voices. Scott abandons the podium and rushes toward his wife, but she's already walking toward the exit. Patricia, please, don't, she says without turning around. Don't say another word to me, ever. She walks out of the sanctuary with her children following behind her, leaving Scott standing alone on the platform in front of 800 shocked church members. Pastor Dwight finally manages to regain control of the microphone. I think we need to take a brief recess, he stammers. But the damage is done. Scott Williams' reputation is destroyed, his marriage is over, and his position at the church is finished. The congregation is already pulling out their phones, texting and calling friends and family to spread the news. I slip out during the chaos and drive home, feeling satisfied for the first time in months. But I'm not done yet. Monday morning, I call Laura's law firm and ask to speak with the managing partner. Mr. Henderson, this is Jay Fairburn. I need to discuss a situation involving my wife, Laura Fairburn, one of your associates. What kind of situation? The kind that could damage your firm's reputation if it becomes public knowledge. We meet that afternoon in Henderson's corner office. He's a distinguished man in his 60s, the kind of lawyer who's built his career on discretion and reputation management. I slide a folder across his desk. These are photographs and recordings documenting my wife's extramarital affair with Scott Williams. Henderson examines the evidence without comment. The affair has been going on for at least 6 months, I continue. Laura has been using work as a cover story for her meetings with Williams. She's told me repeatedly that she was working late on cases when she was actually in hotel rooms with her lover. This is a personal matter. It becomes a professional matter when she's lying about her whereabouts and using the firm as an alibi for adultery. How do you think your clients would react if they knew one of your attorneys was willing to lie so casually about something so fundamental? Henderson closes the folder. What do you want? I want Laura's resignation, effective immediately, with a notation in her personnel file that she's not eligible for rehire. That seems excessive. The alternative is that this becomes public knowledge. I have contacts at several local news outlets who would be very interested in a story about a prominent attorney's affair with a married church board member. Henderson considers this for a long moment. I'll speak with Laura this afternoon. By Tuesday evening, Laura has been forced to resign from her law firm. Her career in Dallas is effectively over. Word travels fast in legal circles, and no respectable firm will hire an attorney with her kind of baggage. Wednesday morning, I receive a call from Scott Williams. "We need to talk," he says. "I don't think we do. Please, just give me 5 minutes." We meet at a diner across town. Scott looks like he's aged 5 years in 3 days. His eyes are red-rimmed, his usually perfect hair is disheveled, and his hands shake when he lifts his coffee cup. "You destroyed my life," he says. "No," I reply. "You destroyed your life. I just documented it." Patricia's filing for divorce. She's going to take everything: the house, the business, the kids. The church has suspended me from all positions. I'm ruined. Good. How can you say that? I loved her. I loved Laura. You loved the excitement of sneaking around. You loved the thrill of getting away with something. You didn't love Laura. You loved the idea of Laura. That's not true. If you loved her, you would have divorced your wife first. If you loved her, you wouldn't have let her destroy her marriage and her career for an affair that was never going to lead anywhere. Scott stares into his coffee cup. What happens now? Now you live with the consequences of your choices. You find a new job, a new church, maybe a new city. You learn to live with the fact that your children will grow up knowing their father is an adulterer who destroyed their family for a meaningless affair. It wasn't meaningless, wasn't it? Laura's already moved out of our house. She's staying at a hotel downtown, trying to figure out how to rebuild her life. When's the last time you talked to her? His silence tells me everything I need to know. She hasn't returned your calls, has she? Because now that the excitement is gone, now that there's nothing left to hide, she's realized that you're just another middle-aged man with a failed marriage and a ruined reputation. Scott Williams starts crying then, right there in the diner, and I feel absolutely nothing for him. I leave him there and drive home to my empty house, where I pour myself a drink and review the financial statements my lawyer sent over. The divorce settlement is even more favorable than I expected. Laura gets almost nothing, while I keep the house, the business, and primary custody of the girls. Justice, served cold and thoroughly. Thursday afternoon, my daughters come home from their grandparents' house. Beth, my 16-year-old, is angry and confused. Janie, who's 14, just seems sad. "Dad," Beth says, "what really happened between you and Mom?" I consider lying, protecting them from the ugly truth. But they're old enough to understand, and they deserve honesty. "Your mother had an affair with a married man," I tell them. "She chose him over our family." "Is that why she moved out?" "That's why I asked her to move out." "Will she come back?" "No, sweetheart, she won't." Janie starts crying, and I hold her while Beth paces around the living room, her anger radiating like heat. "I hate her," Beth says finally. "No, you don't. You hate what she did. There's a difference." "How can you defend her?" "I'm not defending her, but she's still your mother, and someday you'll need to find a way to forgive her. Not for her sake, but for yours." It's good advice. I wonder if I'll ever be able to take it myself. Friday morning, Laura calls. "Jay, we need to talk. I thought we covered everything on Thursday. Please, I know I don't deserve it, but I need to explain." "There's nothing to explain, Laura. You made your choice. I made a mistake. You made a series of choices over a period of months. Each one was a deliberate decision to betray your family." "I know, you're right, but I want to try to make it right." "How?" "I don't know. Counseling, maybe. We could try to work through this." I almost laugh. "Laura, you confessed to adultery on a recording that's already been submitted as evidence in our divorce proceedings. You resigned from your job in disgrace. Your lover's wife has filed for divorce and is taking everything he owns. There's no working through this. There's only moving forward. So that's it? 20 years of marriage and you're just throwing it away?" "I'm not throwing anything away. You threw it away when you decided Scott Williams was more important than your family." She's crying now, but I feel nothing. "The divorce will be final in 60 days, I continue. You can see the girls every other weekend and one evening per week, as long as you're not living with Scott or any other man. Those are the terms." "Jay, those are the terms, Laura. Take them or leave them." I hang up and delete her number from my phone. Saturday evening, I'm grilling burgers for the girls when Diana stops by. She's brought her daughter, Matilda, who's friends with Janie. "How are you holding up?" Diana asks while the girls play in the backyard. Better than expected. Any regrets? I consider the question seriously. About the marriage ending? No. About the way it ended? No. Laura made her choice, and I made mine. What's next? Next, I focus on my daughters and my business. Maybe eventually I'll think about dating again, but not for a while. Diana nods. For what it's worth, I think you handled this with more grace than most men would have. I don't know about grace. I destroyed 2 people's lives. You exposed the truth. They destroyed their own lives. Maybe she's right. Maybe I am the good guy in this story. Or maybe I'm just better at justifying my actions than Laura was at hiding hers. Sunday morning, I take the girls to a different church across town. As we're leaving the service, Beth asks, Dad, do you think Mom and Scott are still together? I don't know, sweetheart, and I don't really care. It's the truth. Whatever Laura and Scott do now is their business. They're both free to make whatever choices they want, and they're both free to live with the consequences. I'm free too, for the first time in months. Free from lies and suspicion and the constant weight of betrayal. Free to build a new life with my daughters, based on honesty and trust and the kind of love that doesn't require deception to survive. As we drive home through the quiet Sunday streets, I realize that I'm genuinely happy for the first time since this whole mess started. Laura wanted to know what I was going to do about her affair. I showed her, and I'm satisfied with the results.